Chapter 35, Hyena. It had been resolved we should all journey together, but on the morning fixed for our departure, my wife declared she needed rest and would remain at home. Ernest, after some consultation with Fritz and Jack, said he also preferred to remain with her. So having some work of my own, I thought it best to send the 3 boys by themselves. Our 3 hunters departed in good spirits, having been well counselled to be prudent, advice which no doubt they found it easy to carry. I busied myself constructing a press for the sugar canes, which did not differ materially from the sugar mill, and therefore need not be described. The adventures of the boys, as they told them to us on their return after a few days, may be more entertaining. On drawing near to Forest Farm, where they intended spending the first 2 days, they were startled by a strange shout, resembling the laughter of a man. The ostrich and buffaloes, as well as the dogs, seemed terrified, and as the strange laugh was continued, they turned to flee. Fritz and Francis, dismounting, tried to calm the excited animals, and Francis crept cautiously forward to reconnoitre. Drawing aside the branch of a small shrub, he saw at the distance of about 30 paces a large hyena in the act of devouring a ram. The animal, on seeing him, renewed its horrid laughter, and Francis, aware of his danger, fired, and striking it on the forepaw and breast, it tumbled over. Fritz, who had succeeded in tying up the buffaloes, now came to his brother's rescue. But fortunately his aid was not needed, for the dogs had thrown themselves on the hyena and killed him. In a few moments, Jack rejoined his brothers, having been all this time engaged in quieting his ostrich, in which he was at length successful. While all this was happening, we were seated quietly, resting ourselves at home after the labors of the day, my wife trembling lest any mischief should befall her sons, and I questioned Ernest as to the motives of his brothers in going away. His answers were rather enigmatical, but at last he said, "Keep your mind easy, my dear father. Tomorrow I think I will have news of our travelers to tell you." "How is that?" said I. "Do you propose rejoining them? That will be rather inconvenient for me." "I will not leave you, Papa, but I still hope to have news to give you. Perhaps I shall dream tonight where they have been, and so will be able to tell you all about it tomorrow." "Stop," said I. "What is that which has entered the dovecot? It is so dark I cannot see whether it is a wild pigeon or one of our own." "Perhaps it is a courier from Sydney," said Ernest. "If so, we might make use of it to correspond with New Holland." "Would that it were," said I, "but it is late and we must go to bed. If you like, you can consult your courier in the morning and tell us the news at breakfast time. Meanwhile, good night, and do not dream too much." The next morning, Ernest went to the dovecot, and just as we were sitting down to breakfast, he gravely handed us a sealed and folded paper, saying, "The humble postmaster of Rock House respectfully recommends himself to your lordships, and hopes you will not be displeased at his not forwarding the dispatches from Forest Farm in Sydney sooner. They arrived only last night." My wife and I could scarcely keep from laughing, but thinking I saw underneath some little piece of diversion invented by Ernest to beguile the time during his brother's absence, I entered into the spirit of it, and with a serious air replied, "Well, Mr. Secretary, what has happened in our capital? Give us the news of our subjects." Ernest then unfolded his paper, bowed gravely, and read in a clear voice, "The Governor-General of New South Valley to the Governor of Rock House, Falcon's Nest, Forest Farm, etc., etc., sendeth greeting. Most beloved, noble, and faithful ally, we have learned with displeasure that 3 adventurers have left your colony to live as robbers in this province, by plundering and destroying the game, and also that a troop of hyenas have made an irruption into your province, and committed ravages amongst your flocks. We pray you to take prompt measures against these disorders by recalling the hunters to your colony, and putting an end to the outrages of these animals. The Governor, Philip Phillipson. Sydney, Jackson's Bay, 12th of this month, 34th year of the colony." When Ernest had finished reading, he began to laugh and dance about when a small note fell from his pocket. "This," said he, "is a particular note from Forest Farm. If it is your pleasure, I will read it to you, your lordships. It is short, but contains perhaps as much information as the official document of Sir Philip Phillipson, who, it appears to me, has received these exaggerated reports with too much credulity. "This is quite an enigma," said I. "Did Fritz leave you this letter and order you to deliver it to me on a certain day?" "No, father," said Ernest. "Here is the solution of the enigma in this note, brought by a carrier pigeon yesterday evening. Dear Parents and Ernest, a great hyena has devoured a lamb and a sheep. Francis is a noble fellow. He wounded it right in the chest, and the dogs dispatched it. We took a whole day to take off its skin, which is very beautiful. Our pemmican is not worth eating. Mother is quite justified in making fun of my cooking. Your Fritz. Forest Farm, 15th inst." "A true hunter's letter," said I, laughing. "I am thankful that Francis is unhurt in his encounter with the hyena." "I wish they would be more prudent," ejaculated my wife, who wanted us to start from home immediately to seek the hunters and bring them back with us. Towards evening, another pigeon arrived, bringing a note, which ran as follows: "Quiet night. Beautiful morning. Sailing in the Kajak on Forest Lake. Capture of black swans. Royal heron. Cranes and widgeons. Unknown animal escaped. Tomorrow to Prospect Hill. Farewell to all. Fritz, Jack, and Francis." This little note, assuring us of their welfare, was very comforting to us. The details they would communicate on their return. It had been their intention to explore this lake more particularly to find out the places where it could be reached from the shore without sinking in the mud. Fritz coasted in his Kajak, while Jack and Francis beat about among the reeds. Such spots were marked by bamboos that they might be easily discovered again. It was in the course of this exploring expedition that Fritz discovered 3 young black swans, which he caught and brought home. Subsequently, he observed, quite near him, a royal heron over which he cast his lasso, and shooting his Kajak among the reeds, secured his prey. While the 3 brothers stood on the shore admiring their beautiful captives, there came out of the marsh a strange-looking animal, quite new to them. Fritz went in pursuit, leaving his brothers to take the other game to the forest farm. This animal, I afterwards found from their description, must be the tapir, a kind of small elephant. At dinner they met again, the 2 younger boys bringing numbers of cranes and other waterfowl, and Fritz a gorgeous bird of paradise. They dined on peccary ham and potatoes, leaving the pemmican to the dogs. They spent the evening in preparing for the journey to Prospect Hill. I shall now leave Fritz to tell all about it in his own words. "We had hardly entered into the little pine wood when we were surrounded by numbers of monkeys who pelted us with pineapples. To stop this, we fired among them, on which 4 or 5 fell to the ground, and their companions, alarmed at our mode of returning their mischievous pranks, soon vanished out of sight." Here I take up the story and continue the narrative. We were just comforting ourselves in the assurance of the well-being of our absent ones, when a pigeon arrived bearing a note having the following: "The defile has been broken through. As far as Sugarvale, everything is destroyed. The canes are trampled and broken. Many enormous footprints are visible everywhere. Come quickly to our help. We are all well, but dare not go either back or forward for fear of our unknown enemy." Without delay, I saddled the Onagra, and telling Ernest and his mother to meet us the day following with various stores at the defile, I started at full gallop.